see the recording button.
Yes, got it. Okay, Gryphon, over to you.
All right. Wow, starting is hard. So I started studying Chinese medicine 2 years ago. I'm currently in graduate school. I have another year to go. And a few months after I started studying, I also decided I was going to be a narrator because it seemed like a good idea to start graduate school and a new career all at the same time. And so I've been using a lot of what I've learned from Chinese medicine to inform character development. And this came up in one of the Narrator's Cup of Joe chat evenings. Somebody was asking about how do you create all the voices for your characters? And people gave a few wonderful answers, and I just mentioned that I use some of the elemental energetics that I've learned from Chinese medicine. And Daniela got all interested and excited about it and said that might be a fun topic to cover. So I'm going to try to tackle it. There's a tremendous amount of information that could be covered. So I'm going to try to pare it down to just enough bare essentials that will make some kind of sense to cover in only 1 hour, and talk about what just the basics of what the elements are and what their energetics are and how that might inform voice. So the idea in ancient Chinese medicine is that there are 5 basic elements, and that everything in the world is made of these elements, and we are made of all of these elements, and that a balance of them is essential. And there's a whole complex system in the way each element governs an organ system, governs our physiology, that I won't get into at all. But various aspects of how we show up in the world are governed by each of these elements. And of course, we have to have all of them, but one of them tends to be predominant in each person. And that can be looked at as like your type, which is something most of us are familiar with from astrology, or the various sort of, oh, I'm a fire type, I'm a water type. So it's similar to that, and your type informs your lens on the world. One practitioner refers to it as your curriculum. What are the issues that are going to come up for you in life? What are the things that you're going to have to deal with over and over? And also your superpowers, in a way. What are it helps inform your greatest virtues, the things you're going to be best at in life, and how you figure out the balance between your sort of move from a pathological expression to a healthy expression is where those virtues are going to come out. And then each element has associated with it a primary organ and a most prominent emotional expression. So I use those issues and the emotional expression to label characters. If I'm reading through a book and I go, oh, look at this person there, they live in fear. All of their issues are around fear. Then I'm going to say, okay, I know that that's connected to the water element, which is connected to the kidney, and their voice is going to come from the kidneys. And I'll get into examples and we'll listen to samples to see what that actually means. And one thing I want to talk about briefly is it's really easy to see the pathology of a character. Like, let's say a character is really needy and whiny, and it's easy to say, oh, well, that's an earth character, they're an earth type, and I'm going to play them as that pathological, needy, whiny earth. But I was thinking of I'm sure many of you went to the Paul Rubin webinar recently, where he talks about taking your character seriously. And to me, that if you're only playing the character's pathology, you're not taking them seriously. You're creating a caricature. And taking them seriously for me means seeing the depth of that element. So if I'm labeling this character Earth, what is the virtue of Earth? not just the whiny, needy side, but what is their core virtue that, even if they're not expressing it, they have that capacity. So I try, when I read the character, to hold that. And I think that that makes them a more full, rounded character. If that makes sense. So I want to give just a very quick tour of the elements and then come back to each one in more depth. And the easiest way to tour them all is through the seasons, because each element is associated with a season. And if you understand the character of that season, that gives you a quick, essential view of that element. And there are five seasons in Chinese medicine. Late summer is considered a separate season. So I'll start with spring, is the wood element. And spring is all about growth. It's up and out. I'm a tiny seed with a plan. The plan is for an oak tree, and I'm going to grow until I become an oak tree. I'm going to just forge ahead. So it's that energy within ourselves that's up and out, and just, I have a vision and I'm going for it. Summer is the fire element, and that's flowers and sex. It's all about intimacy, it's connection, it's love, that's where we get our capacity to relate to others. Late summer is earth, and that's harvest. That's now those flowers have turned into big fruits that we can gather. It's gathering in and abundance and nurturing. That's our maternal energy. Caretaking energy is the earth element. Then we come to autumn, which is the metal element. And in autumn, all of that wildness has been all that growth of spring and summer and late summer, and now it's all dying. It's all coming back down into the earth, and all of the excess is stripped away to the bare essentials. And the understanding of metal is not just like steel, but stones, minerals. So the essential minerals are now being extracted from all of that plant matter to their purest state and going back into the earth to nourish it again. So this is the energy in us where we can take in what is wonderful in the world and extract its purest essence, and to really hold that in ourselves and let everything else go. So grief is associated with it. Letting go. All of the fullness of summer, it's now just a memory and whatever lessons we learned from it. And then winter is the water element, where nothing is happening anymore. It's the depth. It's the darkest, most yin place. It's stillness, but it's also all of the power to start the whole thing again. If there's no water, that whole cycle isn't happening. So in us, it's the will to survive. It's the life drive, and to reproduce. So it's associated with the reproductive organs and with the kidneys. It's real, the ambition and drive to live comes from the water element. So that's the very quick tour. Look at that, it's only 4:09. I'm gonna make it. So now to come back to them in more depth, to the wood element, if you think about a tree growing, it's a little sapling, it's coming up, and it encounters an obstacle. There's a rock in the way. What is the tree gonna do? A healthy tree is just gonna sort of change plan. Okay, I was going to be a dead straight oak tree, but now I'm gonna have to bend a little. And maybe something else happens along the way, and you see trees that are all over the place. I came across a tree the other day that had clearly grown like 10 feet tall, fallen over, and then just turned like this and continued to grow up straight. So it was massive trunk like this with an almost right angle in it. And that really captures the wood element. How do we adjust and bend and grow despite obstacles? And the extremes of that go into pathology. So the healthy appearance is just, I'm flexible. Okay, plan A is not working out. I'm going to make plan B, and I'm going to keep moving towards my goal, even though it's no longer a straight line. One extreme of that is just, I'm a floppy noodle. Oh my God, I've encountered an obstacle. It's all over. I'm abandoning my plans. I can't do it. And the other extreme is, an obstacle, I'm gonna kill it. Anger, like an extreme of anger and overreaction. So assertiveness and anger tend to be associated with the wood element. A lot of issues around boundary, around growth. Am I obedient or am I defiant? Am I passive or am I over assertive? So I guess I'm going to give one great example of the voice, really. The voice is referred to as a shout. And it doesn't have to be a shout in the sense of loudness, but like a command. So I used to date a guy who was a wood type, and he was an excess wood type, and he had a billion plans going all at once, and he's off in every possible direction all the time, and everything he said was a command. You should do this, you should do that. And he didn't mean to be giving commands, but that was how he spoke. He would honk the horn for me when I was driving. Like he couldn't help himself, over deciding for other people. So the sound of the voice comes from the liver, and it's like right under the diaphragm, and it's a sort of powerful shooting straight up out through the crown of the head. It's like that is the quality to the sound. Even if it's quiet, it's very direct, unless it's the pathological floppy noodle, in which case it's totally indirect, and I'm afraid to say anything. That's your complete lack of wood. So I want to play a couple examples. And I'm just going to play these on my phone and point it at my computer and hope for the best. Wait. Malfunction. I'm not getting a play signal. Sorry, I'm going to try one more time. Oh no. Okay, that's not working. I'm going to try doing it directly from my computer instead and see if that works. Please tell me if you hear the sound. So just the test. Does that work? Daniela, could you hear that?
Nope. Do you know what? I wonder, do you want to email it to me and then I can try to play it from my phone?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. So email it to me. I can play it to my phone from my phone, and then just each time you can, a few minutes before you're ready. Let me just go grab my phone real quick.
Okay, what's your email address?
DANIELA I'll be 1 second. I'll go grab my phone.
Sorry, y'all. I've been sitting for like 3 hours and I have to like get up and shake my ass. So that's why I'm moving. Nothing's happened but me shaking.
Did you email it to me?
Not a problem.
So when the boss is away, we unmute ourselves.
I know. I was like, hello.
Sure. Oh, she's back.
Okay. Okay.
Did it go through?
No, you sent it to DANIELAROMANO@hotmail.com.
Yeah. I did.
Just one L, right?
Yep, I did. Just one L. I'm gonna send it again. It's so funny because the files are all showing up here, but then when I click on it, it just says MP3 audio.
No, I'm not getting it. I'm checking spam. I'm not getting anything. Maybe we should just keep going and then perhaps
going to try one more thing. I'm going to see if I can pull it on my iPad. Because that's the most critical part. You've got to hear the voices. Or it's not going to make any sense.
Do you know what? In Messenger on Facebook, can you attach it as a file in Messenger on Facebook to me? You know how I sent you the MP3 video? You just go to the Messenger bit.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
Or you can even hold it up, the Messenger, with a little microphone right up to the sound and record it, and then I'll get it on my phone. The modern digital age,
one and
guys.
see what happens. Right.
Thank you for your patience, guys. We'll get there in the end.
Thank you. This was all working perfectly right before we started.
Okay, here, I've got something.
Okay, I think it's attaching it now. And I'm trying at the same time to do it on my other device.
Yeah, because all I got from you is a thumbs up on Messenger.
Yeah, that was an accident.
Okay.
It's attaching. Everything's just going really slowly now because Zoom is running.
We tried this earlier, guys. That's why we decided the phone, because the minute Gryphon tried to play it on her computer, everything froze on Zoom. So we should take a dance break at every. I can ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're waiting, was wood spring? I couldn't remember. Okay, here we go. I've got something.
Ooh, I got wood up. I got it. All right, let's try this.
And of course, I couldn't be prouder of all of you in the graduating class of 2020, as well as the teachers and the coaches, and most of all, parents and family who guided you along the way.
Did that sound clear enough?
Yeah.
I'm going to play a little bit more of it.
Now, graduating is a big achievement under any circumstances. Some of you have had to overcome serious obstacles along the way, whether it was an illness, or a parent losing a job, or living in a neighborhood where people too often count you out.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that. Everything is it's very definite. It's so direct. It's like, and the sentences end very clearly. That's a really good, healthy wood voice. So I can't remember what I have next, but here's another one.
All of the
this is the narrator, Alyssa Bresnahan.
Neuroscience and psychology herein is firmly established. If in doubt, Google it. In addition, the nature of reality as demonstrated by...
So take a moment as you're listening to it, see if you can feel the energy of it in your body. Like, when I feel this voice, I feel it under my diaphragm. Good.
Google it. In addition, the nature of reality as demonstrated by Talia can be found in excerpts taken from his journal at the end of this novel. If in doubt, read it. And so it begins.
Yeah? The next one is, this is a little nuts. I think it's Chris Rock, and he is like a machine gun.
The tiger bit the man in the head, and everybody's mad at the tiger. The tiger went crazy. That tiger ain't go crazy. That tiger went tiger.
Yeah, you feel that? That's sort of over the top wood. And I have one more.
Not to mention the fact that gators had no personalities to speak of and were uglier than the ass end of a coyote. They were cold-blooded. He had a molten core. It was never going to work out.
That's Johnny Heller.
Yeah.
That one's less clear, but there's sort of a drumming quality to the sound.
Vern spent his nights in a fishing shack on Barr Island, which had been abandoned sometime in the middle of the last century. The shack sat back from the shore on a little side bayou.
Yeah, I still feel that in, like under the diaphragm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's wood. I'm gonna get fire started downloading while I talk about it. So fire is, that's all about warmth and love and connection, and it gives us a capacity for joy. So spectra of issues can be, joylessness, and it's not really depression. Deep depression comes more with the water element, but it's a kind of a flat depression, like just I've forgotten how to feel joy. Through to the other end of manic joyfulness. I'm on all the time. Hi, you want to connect? Want to hang out? Want to go to a party? So those are the pathological extremes. And then the balance is a kind of steady, a fire, a healthy fire. And a healthy fire sparks and it comes down, and it sparks and it comes down. It's got that up and down movement. It's not just all some glowing embers, and it's not a blazing out of control flame. Trust is in the issues of the fire element. So am I completely closed off and I don't trust anybody, or I trust everyone and they can all come right into my heart and connect with me no matter who they are? So I'm going to speed up a little bit and just go to voices, because I think I'm not doing as well on time as I thought. But the sound tends to be pretty sparky. So you can hear, it sounds like the person's going to laugh. Like even when they're talking about something serious, like they might almost be giggling. So this first one is Will Smith, and he's talking about something really serious, but he sounds like he's going to giggle.
Fighting with a student. A few weeks later, he returned to the classroom, shot the student unsuccessfully, held the class hostage, and then shot himself successfully. This fact caught my eye. The last sentence, times. A neighbor described the teacher as a nice boy, always reading Catcher in the Rye. This nitwit Chapman, who shot John Lennon, said he did it because he wanted to draw the attention of the world to Catcher in the Rye, and the reading of this book would be his defense. Young Hinckley, the whiz kid who shot Reagan at his press secretary, said, if you want my defense, all you have to do is read Catcher in the Rye.
He's almost giggling at the end. Yeah, Melissa, yes, from the heart. So the heart is the primary organ associated with fire, and to really, like when I'm playing a fire character, I try to speak from the heart, and maybe with a bit of a smile the whole time. Like I have a bit of a joke going, or I'm about to laugh. The next example I have is less, it doesn't have the laughter so much, but you can really feel the warmth in this man's voice.
Hi, I'm Scott Simon of NPR. There are a few qualities that any story should have, whether you're reporting a war halfway around the world or a couple of feet of snow in Green Bay. I've done a little of both. The story ought to have a point. I don't mean to listen, or...
It's all right here. He's speaking from his heart.
Yeah.
And here's one more that also, there's not really any laughter, but I think many of you have spoken to this person, and when he's just talking, he's laughing. When he's, or about to laugh. When he's narrating, he's sufficiently trained that he's keeping the laughter out, but you can really hear the warmth.
We are obviously still years from attaining that sort of detailed understanding, but the birth of 3 new branches of science has led to an explosion of knowledge about the effects of psychological trauma, abuse, and neglect. Those...
Yeah, we all know that voice, right? Yeah. Did you hear the warmth?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
So that famous guy would have that warmth, that fire. Oh God, forget it. I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead. I can't think of his name. Famous. He does all the heartwarming commercials.
I'm
going to let you go.
Go. In like 20 years, so I can't help it.
Keep going. It's going to bug me now.
Okay. So Earth as I talked about before, it's all about nurturing and mothering, abundance, home, community, comfort. So somebody who's a good caretaker, who's connected in community, who care. Food is a big thing for Earths. They just really love food. So then spectra of the ways that this can show up is the balance, just nurturing, caretaking, an extreme of being completely unsupportive, don't care about anybody, or totally smothering. I'm going to love you and take care of you, and or sometimes fluctuating wildly between them. So unfortunately, I didn't get a recording of his voice, but Jerry Springfield is a great example. And one of our teachers played us a great clip where he is talking to a friend of his about a new restaurant owner. And he's so worried that nobody's coming to this guy's restaurant. He doesn't know the guy, but it's like, look at him. Nobody's coming to his restaurant. I'm really worried about him. What if he goes out of business? What if he's just really sympathetic and worried about this guy? Meanwhile, his best friend is trying to say, I've just had a terrible breakup. I'm heartbroken. I'm falling apart. And he's like, yeah, whatever. You'll be fine. But look at this poor guy with the restaurant. It's like this excessive sympathy and then no sympathy.
Yeah.
So where is sympathy for this person? And then neediness. Are all of your needs repressed? Like, I don't need anything. I don't need anybody. Or like, poor me. Take care of me. That sort of extreme whininess, or totally independent to too dependent. There's also, in Earth, it's about being centered and grounded. So in the healthy way, that's just, I'm rooted in the Earth, I know where I am. Excess, it can be, I'm heavy and stuck, I can't move, I can't motivate myself to anything, or totally flighty and scattered and floating all the time, ungrounded. So those are some of the characteristics you might see to identify an Earth type. For the voice, I want to get my daughter out here for a moment. Sappho, would you like to help us? I think she's going to come. The epitome of the Earth sound is my Earth type daughter talking to our Earth type cat. She's an Earth and the cat is an Earth. Sappho, would you like to come and talk?
I might need a rat.
Go get a rat quickly.
Go get a rat?
She's got pet rats too. And
Oh,
rats
I was
really
like, I hope she meant rap.
No, a rat. She loves the rats, and the rats get a lot of snuggling and nurturing. So, Sappho, would you like to introduce your rat?
Oh my God.
Ash. You gotta make the oh sound. What
So cute.
that right there, that was the pure Earth sound.
Aww. This is what I do all the time.
Oh, that's so cute.
So
You have to be a mothering type to love a rat that much.
Rats are great. I love the rats. Not on Earth.
Oh.
But it's a very circular sound. It's like, oh, like that. This is up and down in a circle. Sing song. So the voice is referred to as a sing. So the first sound that I got for Earth is one that we're going to cut it off quickly because it's so appalling. But this is like Earth's bedtime story.
Greetings, boys and girls. Welcome to the Storytime family. I hope you've been good.
It's painful. Dear children. I can't remember whom I've got next, so I'm just going to start it.
It's difficult to remember what happened next.
So this is one of my teachers, and he's a lovely, very healthy Earth. But you can hear that same circularity, even though he's talking about something painful and serious.
It's difficult to remember what happened next, except that an hour later, I boarded a night train to Philadelphia. The train ride was so surreal. All I can remember is looking out the window and seeing the blackness of the night. And my own reflection looking back at me. I repeated to myself over and over, he's dead? He's not alive?
You hear that circularity? And this man, when he teaches, he stands up and he sways. The whole time it's like this, back and forth swaying. Very earthy. Yeah.
So does your daughter have both sides, or is she?
She's a pretty healthy, balanced earth. She can get a little whiny. She's tired, so the earth sound can get very whiny when it's imbalanced or when just things are off. Oh, please, take care of me. Oh, yeah. I can't remember this next one.
What are today's?
Oh, I think this is Chelsea Stevens. Yes, this is Chelsea Stevens. So it's another nice sounding, very balanced, good sounding earth.
Vegetable lambs, and how many of us believe in them? On September 26, 2016, about 6 weeks before Donald Trump was elected President of the United States, a website calling itself ETF News, endingthefed.com, posted a story with the headline, Pope Francis Shocks World.
So you can hear that also. There's a sing song to it. She's telling a story. And the organs here, the stomach and the spleen. So this is all about digestion. So you can kind of feel the energy coming from the digestive middle. Like it's tummy energy. I'm going to play a little bit more of Chelsea so you can spend some time just feeling it in your body too.
Endorses Donald Trump for president. Releases statement. The story included a statement allegedly from the Pope, asserting that he had decided to endorse Trump because the FBI had not pursued criminal charges against his opponent, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. You feel that? Like that's not coming from the liver. That's not coming from the heart. There's some heart in it. It's warm, but it's really a belly sound.
Yeah.
Right now I'm gonna go into metal.
So which one was that? Which one was that just now? Sorry, I'm losing track.
That was Earth.
That was Earth. Okay.
Yeah. So metal is the movement of it's the lungs, the central organ. So taking in the breath of heaven, taking in what is divine and wonderful in the world, and transforming it into our own earthy selves, and then also releasing it. So the large intestine is associated with the metal element. So it's taking in what's beautiful, extracting, is what the large intestine does, right? It extracts the essential minerals, and it lets go all of the crap, literally. So this is the energy in ourselves, in the world. Can we take in all that is beautiful and let go the parts that we don't need? So when it's out of balance, that can show up as, I can't let go of anything, hoarding. I hold on to ideas, I hold on to stuff, I hold like all the old stuff, it accumulates because I can't bear to let anything go. Or I don't care about anything, everything is shit, there's nothing worth keeping. There's nothing precious in the world. There can be a lot of issues for people around worth, self-worth, recognition. They can be very fragile and fine to sort of metallically hard and totally unyielding. They can be rigid, almost inert, up through maybe crazy overworking. Sometimes there's an obsession with jewelry, with beautiful stuff. Like I have to have what is wonderful in the world, and I've mistaken beauty in the world as expensive stuff. Fine clothes, fine cars, jewels, whatever. And then the everything is shit up through obsession with purity. Like I've known metal types who just don't they won't put a single molecule of anything that they deem impure into their bodies. It just comes to a point of obsession. So because it comes from the lungs, the sound is often very breathy. It's often like they don't quite have enough energy in the lung to finish sentences. Like they start to run out of breath at the end. So the sound has kind of a downward tilt to it. And the primary emotion is grief, because I'm taking in everything that is so wonderful in the world and I can't keep it. It's all temporary. So there's this awe and wonder of all that's wonderful in the world, but also it's all going to go. It's all going to decay back into the earth. And there's a feeling of the thing that I had and lost was the only one of its kind, like my dog. My dog was the most wonderful dog that ever lived, and now she's dead, and there will never be another dog like that again. As the dog walks down. So there's this, that comes from the lungs, that feeling of grief, and like, do you hear that in the voice? There isn't enough sound there isn't enough breath in the lungs to get the sound out, and there's a weeping that comes with it. So let me get the sounds up. So my first one is Marilyn Monroe, who, unfortunately, it's a poor recording because all the recordings I could find of her are poor, but she's talking about how little happiness she has, and you can really hear the weep in her voice.
If I can realize certain things in my work, I come the closest to being happy, and I can say that also about my life. But it only happens, I think, in moments, sometimes when I'm working, and I'll be able to fulfill a scene truthfully, and then I think I'm happy.
It almost makes my lungs hurt to listen to that. It's so sad and it's so breathy and so thin. She just doesn't have enough chi to say a full sentence.
Sad.
I need to check who my next one is for a sec.
One day you'll find...
This is Jennifer Blum. And the thing that she's talking about here isn't sad, and she sounds like she's going to cry the whole time.
One day you'll find peace and realize that you are a healer, not a fighter. Mother Ufberg poured her plate of beans into a sack we'd been giving to the farmers whose crops had died overnight. I shut my mouth, knowing nothing I'd say would change her mind. Mother Ufberg was a respected healer and leader in our small town. I was one of 3 apprentices in her care, and quite possibly the worst.
Everything falls off. There's just breath at the end. So another thing that can happen with metal is, in addition to the breathiness, there can be this quality of almost like razor blades in the throat. It sounds like the person's been gargling razor blades. It's like that kind of a sound, along with the breathiness. And my perfect example for it is George Burns.
My eyes snapped open.
Oh, that's not him. Wait. Here we go.
You can hire a boat in Central Park for a half an hour now. And I borrowed the money and I took this beautiful girl out rowing. And I guess she liked me because when we got to a romantic spot, she says, "George, why don't you stop rowing and give me a kiss?" And I said, "Nothing doing. This cost me $50 and I want to get my money's worth."
What metallic that is? It's like it's gone through some sort of a metallicizing filter or something. And he was young in that.
He always sounded like that, didn't he?
He always sounded like he was 100 years old. And then just very briefly, my last example is Adam Barr, who also, he's got a breathy quality and then not nearly as metallic sounding as George Burns, but a little bit of that.
My eyes snapped open. I
I stared up at the moonlit shadows on the ceiling, wondering if the loud bang had been from a dream I couldn't remember. There was a gunshot. Indigo's soft voice beside me dispelled any doubt that I had dreamed it. I quickly got out of bed and began pulling on my jeans as
You hear the breathiness.
Yeah.
That lung
Wow.
quality. Yeah. Right, and we're down to water. So water again that's winter, it's wisdom, it's power, it's stillness. Sometimes when you're just in the presence of somebody who's a water type, it feels like you're next to a deep lake. Like you feel everything is really still. And then water, of course, can show up a million different ways. And it can be a burbling brook, and they can be just like, they're up here, they're just moving and moving and moving, but it's different from that fiery, manic quality. It feels like they're dog pedaling for life. Like, if I don't stop moving, I'm gonna die. So the issues are really around life and death for water. And so the deepest emotion is fear. And it's not like, oh, I'm nervous. It's not anxiety. It's, am I gonna live? Am I gonna survive this kind of fear? And then in the stillness, there's also the knowledge, ultimately I'm not gonna survive. And it's okay. There's just this very still thing, but also power. This is our real source of the deepest ancestral power and the ability to reproduce. So the sound comes from the kidneys or from the gonads. You can think about talking from your ovaries or from your testicles. There's power. And you can really hear that in the voice. So in characters, you might see aspects of somebody who's afraid of everything, really overly cautious, or a complete daredevil. Somebody who's just going nuts and doing every dangerous thing all the time because they need that in order to feel alive. Or ambition, somebody who's just power hungry, they're in whatever area, they're completely driven, and they are going forward, but not in the wood way, not in the, like, I'm growing up, I'm going to develop into my true self, but like, I will take on all the power, I will overcome, I will destroy you all. Darth Vader. So James Earl Jones is actually my first sample voice for water, and he's a wonderful example. You can really feel like it's the bottom of the ocean, and it's still, but has this absolute power to it.
I looked and I saw that man we call the law. He was coming down the street at me. I had visions in my head of being laid out cold and dead, or else murdered by the third degree. I said, Lord, if you can, save me from that man. Don't let him make a pope out of me.
Isn't that great? I love that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the voice is often referred to as a groan. It's like the groaning sound of water. Sometimes I feel like it can sound like a submarine coming at you. Like sometimes I've gotten in conversations with people who are water types, and it just feels like they're coming at you and they're talking and there's really very little, it's like even, like there's a submarine coming at you and it's never going to stop until it kills you. Like, oh my God, I gotta get away from this person, whatever they're talking about. It's just never going to stop. So that's that drive and power of water. But then sometimes you can also hear the fear in the voice. You can listen to a water and go, wow, there's that stillness, there's that power, but there's also like a life and death terror. So my next example is Annie Lennox. And I feel like I can really hear that in her voice. And she's giving this interview and she's talking about fear and about power. Those are the themes in her life.
It's like having a huge spotlight thrust on you, and you're like, whoa, what's going to happen now? and people started to do double takes and look at you and feeling like, wow, that thing of anonymity had gone and was starting to go. So I had this incredible feeling of vulnerability, and in any moment now some terrible disaster was waiting. It's not something that I can really give much thought to. If it's there, whatever it means, you know, I don't feel I have any control of anything much. I mean, I have control over the things I do and how I do them, but I don't have any control over how other people take it. That's not my department.
Yeah.
It sounds scared to me. But also, like, nothing's going to stop her. I don't know. And I feel it, like, low down. I feel it in my bowels. So, that deep power. It is only 4:45, and I have finished my whirlwind tour.
It's horrible, but all I want to do is like,
questions.
yeah, all I want to do is say, what about so-and-so? What element would you say? I'm going to try to hold myself back. There's one I'm dying to find. Jeff Harding, he's a narrator. I don't know if anyone knows Jeff Harding. He does all the thrillers. Someday, can I let you hear his voice and you tell me what he is? I think he might be the Johnny Heller. What is that, the fire?
I don't know if I can tell, like,
Johnny Heller was fire?
Heller was a wood.
Wood.
That's wood.
The up straight. I think
Yeah.
Jeff Harding might be up straight because I want to be what Jeff Harding is.
Yeah.
So I want to change. Can you change your element?
You have to be you. You can only be what Daniela is. And as yourself. But you can learn to channel all of these voices. So an exercise that we did in class that was really helpful was we got paired and we'd sit with, like, two people came to the front of the class and sat back to back, and one of them read a poem. And the other one had to feel where in that person's body is the voice coming from? Where do I feel it in my body? And then they had to read the same poem and try to mimic the voice, but not in sound, in energetic. Like, oh, I really heard that voice in my gut. I'm going to try to speak from my gut, even though that's not where I usually speak. So, like, what does it feel like to speak from all the different parts of your body? And can you listen to somebody's voice and feel it? Like, is it up here? Is it down here? Is it where is it? And can I move my voice energetically in my body?
So do people at different stages in life change? I mean, depending on what you're going through, because obviously people change throughout their lives, or do you have a core, or do you think that you default back to?
The primary teaching is that there is a type that you were born, and that is with you your whole life. There are some people who think that you can shift, and all of this is much more complicated. You have a primary element, and you have a within element, and a secondary within. And so you can be, say, an earth type, but with a wood within. So the wood, it's like you're a wood-flavored earth. And then maybe you have a water within that, and that shows up in certain kinds of situations. So it's crazy complicated. And each element has a yin and a yang aspect. So that can inform the voice. So this is just the barest overview.
Okay, I've got a question.
But the theory is that it doesn't change.
I've got Anna has asked, sorry, Gryphon, as I'm cutting you off. I've got Anna has asked, she says she can appreciate shifting her voice, but she's having trouble knowing where it comes from when she's not thinking about it.
I think it takes a bunch of practice. I have a really hard time with it. I can do it some places for voice come much more easily for me than others. It's a lot easier for me if I have a monologue, there's a long section. And sometimes I might even pause at the beginning, just go, okay, let me settle into my lungs, and I'll put my hand on my lungs. Like, that helps me focus the location. Okay, I'm gonna make this entire speech from my lungs. Here I go, I'm in this lungy space, and I'm really feeling the awe and appreciation of the world. I'm settling into that that energetic. When there's a rapid fire conversation back and forth, that's really hard. And then I'm sort of trying to maintain a little bit of the aspect of the voice. But if I want to like fall into the energetic, I actually have to pause. I hope someday to get to a point where I could flip back and forth at high speeds.
So
but I think it's just a ton of practice.
Okay, so Melissa says, when we learn to speak from the heart, we understand that. I know what that means, but the others would take so much thought. But
I'm not sure thought is the right word. I think they take so much feeling.
I wonder if Melissa might be a heart person, though.
I listened to you, Melissa, for a while as a potential sample person, and I couldn't quite decide.
No.
I heard some metal, and I heard some earth. So, we all have the capacity to speak from the heart, and that's a great place to speak from. We should all be able to speak from the heart.
Well, is it okay? I unmuted myself for a second.
Yeah.
Because I just think that's a more familiar analogy to us.
Mm-hmm.
To say, speak from the heart. It's like, or from the gut. Like those are things we've learned or heard about more often than some of the others. That's all I meant was,
right.
Like if you take that analogy and just try to apply it somewhere else, that it would take practice, thought, practice, and feeling, all of those.
Yeah, I think it does take practice, because nobody says to you, speak from your liver.
Right.
But it really is a thing. And so I did a practice in a Tibetan retreat once where the whole point of it was to eject your consciousness from under your diaphragm up through the crown of your head. And you did it with a sound that was hit. It's like a loud, violent ejection, and it comes from under the diaphragm. And you're shooting it straight up. So you could just spend a bit of time doing that. And then learn to feel, where's that sound coming from? And then think about that in speech. How can I speak from that place? And now I'm going to focus my energy, and it's coming up and out, and it's a bit staccato, and I'm telling you what to do. Not necessarily really, but it just comes there.
But I'm thinking, when you see, I do an exercise where I introduce my characters to each other before I do the book.
Mm-hmm.
And we have we record and we explain briefly our main problem in the book to each other. So it's like an informal chat, like basically I'm a crazy woman. But I could do that, right? And each character, if I've identified which type of person she is, I could place my hand on that part of my body as I'm speaking that little character's monologue. So, because that's what I'm getting my voice sample from. And then maybe you'll have muscle memory, or the voice, you'll have muscle memory because you're using that, you're coming from that part of the body, because it's what you said, your hand on your heart. If you put your hand on that part of the body, obviously you can't do that in a 10-hour audiobook, every character.
Not when it's rapid fire dialogue back and forth, but for longer speeches, I do it. I do it for most things, for most voices.
I don't even know where my liver is.
Just go under the diaphragm. Right. Yeah. I just did 2 books in a row where it was by the same author. In the first book, I assigned the main character Water, and she was a very frightened, everything is falling apart in my life all the time, I have no control over anything kind of a Water. And so I got a lot of practice speaking from this deep place of fear. And then I had a phone call with the author, and I was like, by golly, she's a Water, look at that. And she sounded like that character. And then I came to doing another book by her, and the character was older and more powerful and really about her mission in life, but in a survival way. And it was the same, not the same watery themes, but water themes. So clearly this author is she's writing about the themes that are big in her life. So by then there was a lot of water and a lot of talking from my kidneys.
Were they fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Fiction. Dan has a question. He says, is there a specific part of the body that snark comes from, or is it present everywhere?
I think we all have the capacity for snark. Yeah, it depends what's motivating your snark. Why are you being snarky? Are you being snarky because you're afraid that people are going to destroy you and you're protecting yourself? Are you being snarky because you actually are kind of flirty and you're snarky to protect your heart? What kind of snark?
Yeah, because oh my God, because we're all going to experience the entire wide spectrum of emotions, but where we come from is the core of where our default is, and that's going to inform our expression of all the different emotions.
Yes.
So it's not like one element's going to have certain emotions. We're all having them all, but we're all utilizing them differently, right?
I think that's true. And it's really the thing to be careful about looking at is just behavior. It's not, like I see snark as a behavior. It's not an emotion really, and it's not like, where is it coming from is really the question. What's the motivation? What is really going on at this character's core? What's happening in their life? Who are they in a deep sense? And then we can get a sense of, okay, why are they snarky?
And that's a really good point, because every book has the snarky best friend.
Right.
And it could get annoying after a while.
Yes. So you can have different flavors of snarky characters.
Yeah. Dan says, very insightful point. Thank you.
Sure. Dan, I wish I could see you.
I know. Let's see.
Dan is my dual narration buddy.
There's Dan. Hi, Dan. And Amy and Anna. And
you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there's way more people that you can't see them all.
Yeah, I was just doing a lot of yard work, so I'm all sweaty and stuff, so I didn't want to be seen.
You can't hide from Zoom.
Fair enough.
Well,
okay, well, thank you, Gryphon, and I'm going to ask you for some notes later on because...
Sure, there's going to be a video.
Yes.
And I actually have a question for all of you, which is, like, as I was creating this, at first I wanted to say everything. I wanted to get into the yin and the yang and all the different aspects of it. And I realized this is way too much information and I just needed to keep it as simple as possible. But then I thought, I wonder if there would be interest in something that's really in depth, where we, say, did one element a month and spent 2 hours on it. Like a real course in elemental energetics and voice. So I'm curious, you're kind of my guinea pigs. I wonder how many of you would be interested in something like that.
I think I'd be interested. I can say that.
One.
How about anybody else that might be interested? Put it in the chat box. Don't worry, you're not signing on a dotted line.
No. I'm just trying to get a general sense of.
So we've got another one, and we've got a few people that have already left, and another one. So that's 1, 2, me, 3, very time poor at the present, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so basically most people. I think that's the thing. People, I think you get a group of narrators, they're like, oh my God, my schedule. I can't breathe for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking possibly like once a month, in a month or something. We're not talking.
It would take me at least a month to just assemble one.
Somebody said 2 hours might be too much, ? See, me, I think I would need 2 hours to learn it all.
I think 2 hours, it would be not filling with information, but really spending time exploring the energetics. Yeah. There are all kinds of fun things you can do. Like, we did an exercising class where 2 people who were the same element had to get up and have a conversation with each other. And then you sort of got to feel how does that element play off of itself. And then somebody else would come up and try to imitate it, who was not that type. And how well could they capture it, and where did it fall apart? So there were really fun exercises that you can do.
Yeah.
Let's just try it. Have two people have a conversation, and let's try identifying each other in a group, and then interacting with that. What does it feel like to interact with a fire? What does it feel like to interact with an earth? While having an actual awareness of that element. So I think there's a lot we could do in 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm up for it. I'm totally up for it. Okay, I've made a promise that I'm going to try to sign off on time this time, because what I do is I stay way too long, and then people start to drop like flies and like really embarrassed. I'm sorry, it's 1 a.m. I really have to go. But
I have to confess, now that she's gone, Callie Gaston, who is non-narrator in this talk, she is a 5 elements acupuncturist who's been practicing for 20 years. And the whole time I was talking, I'm like, oh my God. She's watching me. And she is my dear friend, and I'm sure she was watching me lovingly.
No, I think everything was gold. I'm dying. I'm so hoping I didn't screw the recording up this time, because I so want to transcribe it into notes to put in my little studio. But I swear I didn't screw it up this time. I didn't, you guys.
Give the little red light. It was on the whole time.
It was on. Yeah, on and actually saved. But this time, Melissa, I did not tape any embarrassing, snarky jokes before the call actually came on. Note to self, start the recording when you want people to hear what you say. Not before. Okay. It's been fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
And please tell your gorgeous daughter thank you, and the rat.
I will.
The full cast.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.
If you do please post on the group if you get an idea and do want to do something, because everyone would be up for it. And
I will. It sounds like there's at least interest in a theoretical way.
Yeah, there is. If anyone has any questions, I'll post thanking Gryphon after the call, and you can post in the comments if you think of any questions afterwards. And
I'll check in the group, and if there are questions, I'll try to answer them there.
And thanks for taking the time to come, you guys. You've been a fabulous audience, even though I have muted you all. You've been wonderful fun. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.